Well, we've been talking about this, and now it's here. It is a big day for people who live in Multnomah County. The COVID risk level drops to moderate. That means more people can gather inside and out.
Gyms, restaurants, and theaters can now have more people inside. So we want to break down some more of those changes. So it's up to 8 people from 2 households that can gather inside. Indoor dining, gyms, and indoor entertainment venue capacity bumps up from 25 to 50%, or 100 people, whichever is smaller. Up to 150 people can eat and drink outside. Stores and malls can be at 75% capacity. And meantime, there are now 13 counties in the lowest risk category, and that's the most since these were introduced in November. KGW's Bryant Clerkley will join us in our next half hour with a lot more on this.
Well, I'm sure a lot of you watched last night as President Biden delivered his first primetime address to the nation. That speech capped off a pretty big day for the president because it was just a few hours earlier that he signed the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. The president is now putting the pressure on all 50 states to ramp up vaccination efforts. He wants every adult in the country eligible by May 1st, and he's aiming for small and safe gatherings to be allowed by the country's birthday on July 4th.
Where we not only mark our independence as a nation, but we begin to mark our independence from this virus. But to get there, we can't let our guard down for being here.
In his speech last night, the president promised new tools that will make it easier to find and get a vaccine. The massive COVID relief bill that he signed yesterday also includes $1,400 stimulus payments for many Americans. And the White House says people could start getting those payments as soon as this weekend. People with direct deposits set up will be the first to get them. Oregon Governor Kate Brown, meanwhile, called the president's vaccine timeline hopeful news. She also said Oregon's plan has always been to ramp up distribution as vaccine shipments begin to increase. Right now in Oregon, July 1st, not May 1st, is when all adults are scheduled to be eligible. The governor says seniors, people with pre-existing health conditions, and frontline workers will continue to get vaccine priority. The governor has a press conference set for later this morning at 11, so we'll see then if anything changes with Oregon's timeline.
And if you live in Washington, you'll also see restrictions ease. Governor Jay Inslee says all counties will move into phase 3 on March 22nd. That means restaurants, retail stores, and gyms can be 50% full, and sports venues 25% full. That includes high school games and youth sports. Governor Inslee is also making more people eligible for the vaccine. Tier 2 will now start a week early on March 17th. That includes high-risk critical workers and people 16 and older who are pregnant or have a disability that puts them at higher risk.
Let's get to 3 other headlines about COVID right now. Number 1, it's not all positive news. The highly infectious variant first identified in the UK may be more deadly than first thought. British researchers compared death rates. They found 227 deaths out of 55,000 people who tested positive for the variant. That's compared to 141 who died from earlier strains. So the death rate is about 60% higher. According to the CDC, over 3,000 cases of that variant have been reported in the U.S. Number 2, Clark County Public Health opening more vaccine appointments at their Tower Mall site in Vancouver. It includes anyone in phase 1A or 1B. Appointments are required to get the shot, but they have openings as early as this morning. The site will be open 8:30 to 4:30 today, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday. Visit the Safeway Albertsons website to schedule an appointment. And number 3, in the coming days, Oregon is expected to reach a milestone of half of all seniors given at least 1 dose. Yesterday's numbers show that 46% of those 65 and up have been given at least 1 dose. It's a big improvement from last month when only 19% of seniors had shots. And those are your 3 things to know.
We expect to find out today if a COVID outbreak will keep Camas High School closed into next week. 13 students tested positive and dozens of others were exposed. Officials say the outbreak is linked to at least one off-campus get-together not related to school, possibly a party last weekend. As long as Camas High remains closed, students will learn remotely. The staff is working with county health officials to do contact tracing. Well, right now, school districts all over Oregon are working to meet the governor's deadline to go back to in-person learning.
There is still some resistance, though, Brenda, from parents who would rather have their kids continue to learn at home. Those parents are also not sure right now if that's even an option. Christine Pitawanich has more on their concerns.
For some parents, the governor's announcement about a return to hybrid or full in-person instruction for younger students starting the last week of March is problematic. Rochelle Chase is mom to 8-year-old Leo, who is enrolled in the Portland Public School District, and 2-year-old Luna. When she heard about the governor's announcement, she immediately had concerns.
One of the primary arguments that we had heard from advocates in favor of reopening schools immediately was that everyone deserved a choice.
But Chase says it's unclear if families will get a choice to stay in distance learning. She's got a point. In a press release from the governor's office, it says individual students or parents who want to remain in comprehensive distance learning or who have health needs may do so. But in a letter to the Department of Education and Health Authority, it says distance learning will be an option only in defined circumstances. We reached out to the governor's office to clarify. A spokesperson tells us parents who wish to keep their children in distance learning will be able to do so. But Chase also has equity concerns because communities of color are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. She says it's possible more kids of color would be distance learning, while other more privileged students would be going to school in person.
And that opportunity gap that we said we were seeking to remedy just continues to grow.
Chase wonders if teachers will have enough time to figure out their family situations, possible changes to curriculum, and all while staying safe. Now she's waiting for more information and weighing options.
This is one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make as a mom.
Chase says parents largely agree they want their kids to be back in school, but there's disagreement as to what constitutes safe. That's why she and other parents are holding a rally on Saturday at Portland Public Schools headquarters at 3 p.m. Christine Pitawanich, KGW News.
An update now on the sexual harassment suit against the so-called TikTok doc and OHSU where he worked. Hospital execs again confirming their own investigation found the woman making the accusations was sexually harassed by Dr. Jason Campbell. They say they're now hiring an outside investigator to review their workplace culture. OHSU says they were going to fire Campbell, but he resigned before they could. But now the hospital is fighting back against one element of the case.
Most of the allegations in the complaint are about OHSU and its alleged pattern and practice of burying victim and survivor complaints against male doctors.
OHSU is planning to file a protective order to stop lawyers like Michael Fuller, you see there, from attacking the personal character of OHSU members and engaging in other abusive tactics. This comes days after 3 other women came forward accusing Campbell of harassment and assault on the job. But due to the statute of limitations, though, their claims are too old to be added to the lawsuit, so it'll just be their statements added to it.
Portland businesses frustrated with vandalism and trash shared their downtown action plan. They're calling on elected officials to support them as they try to help each other clean up the area. The Rose City Downtown Collective is leading this effort. That's a group of businesses and other organizations focused on reviving downtown. They have a 5-point action plan. It includes compassionate and effective care for people living on the streets, a pathway to peaceful protesting, financial support for small businesses, and improved safety and justice.
We want to make downtown safe for shoppers, diners, businesses, and residents. And we want to see arrest and prosecution for criminal behavior, including the destruction of property.
The Rose City Downtown Collective is doing more than just calling for change. Recently, they raised $23,000 to help small businesses hit by vandalism, specifically replacing broken windows. They just launched another fundraiser, too, to help small businesses clean up graffiti.